Hello and welcome. My name is Amber, and in this episode, ladies, today I want to help you to try and connect with your pelvic floor muscles. We've heard many different exercises to do, descriptions of using Kegels and different analogies, and today I want to present a few different ways that we can connect to the different parts of our pelvic floor muscles, really just to create body awareness and to help you to experience that lift and release of the pelvic floor. And I will use this some of these analogies and some of the further exercises that we do on this channel. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is sit comfortably, and I'm sitting in what's called Vajrasana, where I'm sitting on my heels, but actually I have put 2 blocks underneath me, so I have a little bit of height and no pain in the knees. You're welcome to sit in a deep squat on 2 blocks, or you can sit on the edge of a chair, or even on a firm bed on the edge, just making sure you have firm support. So the next thing we want to do is position ourselves with a neutral pelvis and neutral rib cage. You can watch some of my earlier videos explaining that, but what we can feel for are our 2 sitting bones. So adjust your weight a little bit until you can feel that you're sitting on the 2 sitting bones. And then from there, lengthen through the spine, and we relax the shoulders and start to connect with the breath. And now we're dropping into the body. So the first position we can take is to keep the hands on the legs and then slightly lean the weight forward. So I'm still keeping a tall spine. I'm not hunching over. I have a nice tall spine. I've just shifted the weight slightly forward. And now you'll feel that there's a little bit more pressure around the urethral muscles. So the muscle that is activating when we let pee go. And we're going to use that analogy right now. I want you to imagine that you are peeing. So you're just letting all the pee go. And suddenly you want to stop the pee midstream. So you can feel a little close and a lift. Okay, and then you release and you let the pee go again. And once more you try to close off the pee midstream, a little close and a subtle lift, and then peeing again. Okay, and you can keep playing with this contraction and release, or we can say a lift and a release. And if we can time it with the breath, even better. We're going to inhale as we allow the pee to go, and exhale as we close and give a little lift. Okay, and just trying that a few times. So this is around the urethral muscles. It's one of the more superficial layers of the pelvic floor, and sometimes it can even be confused with doing Kegels. So see if you can connect with that part of the pelvic floor, or just simply visualizing and imagining. And now we're going to let that one go. So we're going to bring ourselves all the way back past neutral. We're shifting back more to where the weight is around the tailbone. And I'm not activating the core here. I'm not going so far back, but just rather sitting comfortably slightly back towards the tailbone. And now I want you to imagine that you are allowing gas or wind to just flow freely. And then suddenly you want to stop it in the middle. So you have a gentle closure and a slight lift of the anal muscles. And then again, you just allow, release, let it go. And then closing off with a little lift. And continuing. So if we add the breath in again, then we're going to inhale to allow it to go. And exhale to close and lift. Okay, continuing a few times and getting familiar with the anal sphincter muscles of the pelvic floor. Okay, this is around the back passage. And when I say close and lift, it's not a gripping. Okay, it's just a gentle closure of the sphincter itself and a subtle internal lifting upwards. And try to see if you can isolate these muscles as best as possible. Try not to allow the glutes to get involved. You might feel a little bit of the deeper core muscles getting involved, but let's see if we can give bias to the pelvic floor muscles. Okay, and now we're going to let that one go. And the back passage is also considered to be slightly more superficial layer. So now we're going to go to the deepest layer of the pelvic floor. So shift your weight right into the middle, neutral pelvis, so you're sitting on the 2 sitting bones. And we have a neutral rib cage. Now, if I tell you the analogy, if we remember the pelvic floor, the shape of the pelvic floor muscles generally is like a diamond shape. So we have some part of the pelvic floor connected to the pubic bone, then connected to the two sitting bones on the underside of the pelvis, and then connected to the tailbone. So we have this diamond shape of muscles there. Okay? It's almost like this diamond shape of muscles is being able to squeeze and hug around all the openings of the body. So on the north point we have at the pubic bone, east and west we have the two sitting bones, and then the tailbone is the south point. So I want you to imagine that you're spreading the four corners of the diamond apart from one another. And on the lift of the pelvic floor, we're lifting through the center of the diamond, drawing the center upwards so that the four corners approach one another, and we're lifting through the center. Okay, another analogy is that you're dropping a tissue paper down and it's flat, and then you want to pick the tissue paper up from the middle, so drawing it up in the middle. And if we sync this movement with the breath, you can imagine how we'll do it. We're going to inhale as we release the pelvic floor and allow the four corners of the diamond to spread. And then exhale as you're lifting through the center of the pelvic floor to the direction of the crown. Okay, and again, it's not gripping and it's about 30% effort. So we inhale to release and exhale to lift through the center of the diamond. Inhale to release, spread the four corners apart, and exhale, lifting through the center of the diamond. Some other analogies could be like a jellyfish. As you're inhaling, you see the jellyfish spreading and becoming full, and as you exhale, the jellyfish is shooting up in the water. All the tentacles have come together. So inhaling, and the jellyfish becomes full, spreading the tentacles. And as you exhale, it's shooting up through the ocean, tentacles drawn together. Another analogy, inhaling as you release the pelvic floor. Exhale as you're drawing a blueberry up through the vagina. Inhale as you're releasing the blueberry down. And exhale as you're lifting the blueberry up through the vaginal canal. So inhaling to release and spread, and exhaling as you're lifting. And remembering that it's not gripping, we're not clenching, the glutes are remaining relaxed, and it's really just an internal muscular movement. Sometimes this is called a perineal lift. Sometimes the pelvic floor is simply just specified as this type of lift rather than the too superficial. Okay? And sometimes you'll do it where you're engaging everything. So when you're lifting through the middle, you also feel closure of the urethral and anal sphincters. Okay? And you can kind of play around with this to see, can you give bias to one part more than another? Okay, so we're going to relax the pelvic floor completely now and really feel that, because just as important as the lift is also being able to relax. Remember from my earlier videos that this is a muscle group, and the muscle needs to be able to recruit, and it also needs to be able to let go. Okay, we need to have both. We need to have the excursion, and we also need to have the release. And so now I want you to fully relax the pelvic floor. If you can sense that there's this downward moving energy, we're not forcing anything, but we're just allowing complete rest, allowing the four corners of the diamond to spread apart, and making sure that we can experience that contrast between the release and between the lift. So I encourage you to play around with this a little bit, try it out, see if you are able to give a little bit of bias to the different muscle groups of the pelvic floor. Cultivate or explore your connection to your body and to your own pelvic floor muscles. Use your imagination, find a visualization that works for you, and start to give some balance to your pelvic floor. Stay with me for more episodes, and I will bring these types of movements or exercises into more functional movements, and also into our asana or our yoga practice as well. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to see you again.